بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الكريم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته, and welcome to Takaful online course. And today we shall start the discussions on the Sharia contract, meaning that we try to look at the different Sharia contracts that govern the entire Takaful operation business model. So if I just recap before we go to pick up contract one by one, we see among the contract that we will look at is the Wakala contract. And why Wakala contract? Because there is a kind of an arrangement between the participants and the Takaful operator, whereby the Takaful operator will be acting as a wakil, as an agent, to manage the funds and administer the entire operation business of Takaful on behalf of the participants. So that's the Wakala will emerge there. Also the Wakala will be also observe in the relationship between the Takaful operator as the main wakil and the Takaful agency force, whereby it is normal that every Takaful operator has thousands of agents on the ground that's basically promoting the Takaful certificate and the Takaful program and the Takaful product and services. So those also are acting as a Wakala, which is a sub-Wakala. Basically, the main Wakala is between the Takaful operator and the participant, and the other Wakala is basically between the wakil and the other sub-wakil that they will look after the promotions, marketing, and the product offering. We will see also the contract of Mudaraba will be one of the contract discussed, and the Mudaraba we will see it on the investment side, whereby the Takaful operator will invest the money in the different investment classes, the Islamic capital market, in the stock market, in the money market, in sukuk, in REITs, in ETFs, in different basically investment classes. And that kind of investment is based on Mudaraba, whereby in a different capacity, the Takaful operator will be acting as a Mudarib, and the Takaful operator, and the participant, they will be acting as a capital provider. So this is also a contract that we look at it. Among the contract also we'll touch upon is the Jala, and Jala will be observed in some of the incentives that the Takaful operator will get as a result of the good performance, performance of its investment. So they could get some kind of incentives from the investment side. The Jala also could be observed on the surplus, whereby if there is any kind of surplus, some business model, basically the surplus will be shared between the Takaful operator and the participants. That one also will be captured under the scope of Jala. So Jala could be observed as well on the surplus distributions, on some additionals return on the investments side upon a very good performance of the Takaful operator. Among the contract also that we'll discuss is the Kardhasan. Kardhasan also could be observed when basically there is a deficit in the risk fund, and the shareholders will inject some part of the capital in the risk fund in order to manage that kind of the deficit. So this money that flow from the shareholders to the risk fund will be based on the Kardhasan. So the Kardhasan also will be discussed in that manner. Also among the contract will be discussed is the Wediya. Sometimes for whatever reasons the money is not distributed, the surplus is not distributed, some money that could be in the account for whatever reason. So it could be place in a form of Wediya, or it will be regarded as a Wediya, preserved and safeguarded for the interest of the participant until the right time to do the disbursements or the distributions and so on and so forth. So somehow the Wediya contract could be observed as well. Among the contract also that we are going to discuss and highlight is the donation, the tabarru, which is basically the foundations of the entire Takaful business model. And we'll talk about different types of donations. Then we'll pick up the appropriate contract that normally will be used in Takaful model, which is known as al-iltizam bit-tabarru, is a kind of commitment to donate. This one also will be discussed and the kind of feature it has. So in overall, these are the main basically Sharia contract that we'll be talking about, and we will start with basically this contract, of course taking them one by one in a very brief manner. Let's start with the first one. Briefly, maybe we'll just pick up the definition and some points, then we'll carry on the discussions, inshallah, in the coming session. So let's start with the Wakala. Wakala, of course, is a very important contract in Sharia. It's not only in Takaful, but in Islamic finance. You see it in Islamic banking, you see it in investment, Islamic capital market, and you see it also in the Takaful business model. And Wakala, by definition, is basically the delegations of one party, who is the principal, for another, who is basically the agent, to be the representative, meaning representative of the principal in a known and permissible dealing. So Wakala is a kind of delegations, a kind of authorizations, a kind of a granted mandate by one party called the principal to the agents, whereby the agents will be acting on behalf of the principal in a specific scope. That scope normally it is determines, well known, and also permissible. Now, if we put that context in the Takaful, so basically the participant will be appointing the Takaful operators in a specific mandate, which is looking after the Takaful business, looking after the protections, investments, and saving in a form of specific product and services provided, looking at the administrations of the application form, looking at the collections of the contributions, looking at the claims, looking at the payments of the claims, looking at the safety of the funds, looking at the investments, looking at the distributions of the surplus, if any, looking at the distribution of the profit, if any, and so on and so forth, compliance with the regulations, and basically do a proper underwriting guidelines for the safety of the funds, and so on and so forth. So that's basically the overall descriptions of the mandate of the Takaful operator as a wakil acting on behalf of the participant. And of course, this kind of business is permissible because it is allowed by the Sharia scholars, it is allowed by Sharia. So we have the endorsement of the International Fiqh Academy on the permissibility of Takaful. We have the Sharia IOF standards on the permissibility of the Sharia, and we have the majority of the scholars who allow the Takaful as a business model that can be used and offer products and services in the market. So basically, these kind of arrangements, again, it is a form of Wakala, whereby the Takaful operator will be acting as agents for the participant. Again, the agency is the act of one party delegating the other to act on its behalf in what can be subject matter of delegation. Of course, the delegation should be accommodated and accepted by Sharia to be delegated. So, for example, there are some kind of delegations that it doesn't accommodate. The Wakala doesn't accommodate the delegations in the made. For example, you cannot appoint someone to perform prayers on behalf of you. You want to take a break, and you ask him, I hereby appoint you as an agent to perform Salat al-Zuhr, the Zuhr prayer on my behalf. So why? Because these actions doesn't accommodate the delegations by Sharia. So again, we have to appreciate and distinguish between what could be subject for delegations and what is not. And if we look at the business and the matter of business and finance, most of that kind of scope accommodate the delegations according to the Sharia. The last point we'd like to share in these sessions is basically the main components that could be regarded as a pillar or arkan in the Takaful, in the Wakala. And they are number one, the principle, which is the Muwakkil, that's number one. And this one is basically the participant. And number two, the agents, who is the Wakil, which is in the case of Takaful, is the Takaful operator. And the subject matter, or Al-Muwakkal Fih, which basically the underlying business portfolio, which is subject of the Wakala, that will be talked about it in further details. Let's stop here and see you, inshallah, in the coming sessions. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.